"He's just a broken old gardener," my wife hissed into her phone at 3 a.m. "Send your assassin at dawn. Make it a bloody massacre." She didn't know I was a 20-year CIA Black Ops enforcer, the deadliest sniper alive. As her assassin breached the gate at sunrise, their worst nightmare began. Dawn was a thin wound of light along the horizon when I slid from the hedgerow like a ghost made of cold air and practiced patience. For 2 decades I had calibrated breathing to tick with the world's smallest motions: a sparrow's flutter, a curtain's whisper, the tiny telltale twitch behind a liar's eye. My hands remembered things my mouth had long since buried. I had been trained to wait until the moment the target moved and then make the world obey a single decision. Today, the target was not a foreign minister or a cartel lieutenant. Today, the target was the lie itself. From my vantage behind the shed, I watched the compound wake. The neighbor's Labrador nosing the fence, a delivery man crossing the street, light catching on a window where 2 silhouettes argued. The assassin, an unremarkable man in a hood, hired as muscle, the sort of anonymous brutality my wife preferred because it let her feel powerful without getting her hands dirty, moved with the confident clumsiness of someone who'd been paid to be frightening, but never to think. He had a flashlight in one hand and a sense of entitlement in the other. I could have killed him in the pulse of a breath. One small shift, one breath timed to the tremor in his throat, and the job would be done. It would have been clean, surgical, no questions, no messy aftermath. But Black Ops taught more than how to end a life. They taught discipline and a deeper arithmetic, the balance of cost and consequence. Killing a hired thug would solve the immediate problem. It would not unmake the betrayal, the duplicity that had hollowed my life. It would not stop the next call, the next contract, the way people like my wife traded pain like currency. So I did something I had not done in a long time. I stepped into the light. The assassin froze at the sight of me. An old gardener in paint-faded overalls, pruning shears in hand, hair silver as steel wool, and eyes empty as a bank vault after a run. He had expected vulnerability and found the opposite, a deliberate, calm presence that took up space. There was a pause like a thunderclap in the air, the way somebody pauses on a stair they didn't know would be removed. "You lost, friend?" I said, voice low and steady. It surprised him that I wasn't cowering. He swallowed and flashed the flimsy badge his employer had given him, that cheap brass token meant to buy obedience. "No, old man, he started, then stammered. People hired to be monsters have a soft, embarrassed compliance when confronted with ordinary humanity. They aren't made for the intimacy of a conversation. They're made for the straight line between instruction and action. I used that to my advantage. I led him to the shed where my tools dangled like relics, and I talked. I told him small, useless things at first. How to tell the difference between a rose's mildew and ordinary dust. How to coax a lemon tree into fruiting in the wrong season. I spoke slowly, the way you teach a child to tie shoelaces, making sure each syllable landed. With each word, his shoulders unknotted. The flashlight in his hand bobbed lower. "You been paid for something you don't want to do?" I asked finally. He laughed, a brittle thing. "We don't get paid to want, old man. We get paid to make people do the wanting." "And the ones who hire you?" I asked. "They keep the receipts," he said. "You don't ask." That was the moment I saw the hesitation. Not in his eyes, he had none, but in the arc of his habit. He was not a monster by passion. He was a man who had been taught to do evil by a system that rewarded obedience. It annoyed me more than it made me pity him. Every life I'd taken in my younger years was justified by a ledger of intelligence and threats. Now, at the crest of the hill, the arithmetic was thinner. A marriage unspooling. A woman who found power in patronage. a hired hand trying to be a hammer on command. "Go home," I said. "Walk. Leave your phone. Walk till you remember you have a mother, or a child, or a toothache, or anything that's yours. Run from the people who rent your hands." He looked at me like I had offered him impossible instructions, like I had asked him to climb a ladder into the sky. Then he did something I hadn't expected. He laughed, softly, incredulous, and dropped the badge into my palm as if returning a thing found on the street. He walked out the gate with the awkward gait of someone shedding a uniform he had never chosen. I could have followed him and seen whether the promise stuck. Instead, I went where the heart of the problem lived, inside the house where my wife still smoldered with righteous fury. She opened